Hello, everybody. Welcome to more of the read-along podcast, as I'm just now going to call it this from now on. So last time on the read-along podcast, we went into the Archie comics second arc, which is the Cosmic Interstate Arc. But, well, things just kind of delved into chaos as things just kind of went out of hand. Today, I'm on my own once more, like the first couple of episodes, but I figure it's probably best this way because we could probably cover a little bit more than what I intended to cover last time. Also, it's raining outside, and I figured, why not? I've got time to kill. So, let's get right into it. So, let's go ahead and speed through what the important stuff that was covered in the last part, which is basically the introduction of one new writer, Ken Penders, right down here, along with his partner, Mike Kotarevich. Something about Mike Kotarevich that is worth bringing up is Mike is good. Like, he's a genuinely good guy, who kind of acts as Ken's confidant and was there for the early issues, mostly keeping it so Ken doesn't go too far out of line for the most part. But let's just say that when he suddenly starts vanishing out of nowhere later, that's when things start going from okay to bad. Yeah. We'll get there when we get there, but for now, just enjoy Mike's presence while you still can. So yeah, another thing introduced in this is the Cosmic Interstate, which last time I said that it was based off of the warp ring technology from last time, and I still do believe that it's based on the warp rings. At least before the proper warp rings were introduced. Basically like the portals you see in Sonic games where you're just taken to these special zones. That's basically what I'm referring to. If you play the Sonic game, you kind of know what I'm talking about. Unless it's one of the modern Sonic games where that concept was just thrown out the window in place of the actual Chaos Emeralds. Anyway, so yeah. And of course, we get the introduction to Anti-Mobius, where Robotnik is actually a good guy instead of a bad guy, and Sonic is a bad guy instead of a good guy. Oh yeah, Anti-Sonic is introduced in this issue as well. Not a lot more to it than that. Anti-Sonic is basically one big bully, and that will remain a fact for the entire series. Moving forward, he's just one big bully. Yeah, not a lot else to talk about here. It's just mostly all that. Yeah, next couple stories aren't really all that interesting either. This is also the first issue where the Freedom Fighters actually do something rather than doing nothing without Sonic. It's basically when they actually get some characterization where they actually become a lot more active instead of just relying on Sonic for everything. So Sonic isn't going to be the main focus for the rest of the series. He's actually going to be a part. The Freedom Fighters are actually going to be part of the journey from now on. So I say anyway. You'll see more of them doing other things besides just standing around, which is kind of nice. Beyond that, nothing really interesting here. We get this guy. We get an eagle. An eagle named Cyril. Not a lot else from here. Kind of interesting. Larry Lynx is introduced as well. But, Larry doesn't really do a whole lot. He'll be important later, but for now, he's just kind of there. There's probably one of two appearances he makes in the early Archie Sonic series for a while, so don't get used to his appearances here. He's gonna be kind of fading out after the next time we see him. sadly. Although, more importantly than Larry is, of course, our good buddy Knuckles, and of course the introduction to the floating island, which is what it's called here. It's not called Angel Island. It actually didn't become Angel Island until much later in the series, where it becomes Angel Island once how do I explain it? I guess the only thing I can think, it's not called Angel Island now. It'll become Angel Island later. For now, it's just called the Floating Island. So yeah. And again, this is where we get introduced to Knuckles. However, something worth bringing up is that we do not get the same story of Sonic 3 that we do later. Here, we're shown that the emerald that's keeping the island afloat is just a regular Chaos Emerald. Also, it's not actually... Apparently, as long as it's staying on the island doesn't fall. Not being removed from its pedestal at all is ours. I don't know. It's weird. It kind of contradicts itself later because the island does start falling in a later issue. But yeah, it's weird. It's just weird. Something a friend of mine pointed out as well. In Sonic 3, the reason why Sonic and Tails enter the island the way they do from the ocean in the intro is because the Death Egg actually weighed down the island. So Angel Island's just kind of on the surface of the ocean temporarily. But after a while, the island does return to the sky. Although there have been incidents where the island, even with the Master Emerald on the island, still falls into the ocean, so it's a matter of, maybe there's a little bit of inconsistency with it, and Sega just doesn't think about these things wholesale. Anyway, yeah, beyond that, not really a lot else here. Just kind of miscellaneous adventures. Tails here does gain his intelligence. There's a bit of an argument to be made that, Tails got his intelligence right around this issue where he ate from the fruit from the Tree of Wisdom. Which, to me, looks like a devil fruit now that I look at it. It looks like a straight-up devil fruit. I'm surprised nobody made that connection that it's supposed to look like a devil fruit from One Piece. In any case, yeah, the Tree of Wisdom's fruit is eaten, and Tails gains his intelligence, but, it kind of goes back and forth whether this is how Tails gets his intelligence later on, or if he just naturally got smarter as time went on. It's hard to really say, but in any case, yeah, Tails just kind of gains an ego, and yeah, things just kind of go from there. Oh yeah, the comic without any real text. And then girls just want to have fun. All just standard stuff here. Oh yeah, Magic Frog, which some of us in the server like to comment that this is just Froggy. I don't think it's necessarily Froggy, but yeah, it's funny to joke about it sometimes. Yeah, there's not really a lot to talk about here. There's just a lot of random adventures. This particular story is interesting because this one was actually a tale that was not, that was actually cut, when it was, brought up, but it was, sorry, brain just shut off for a second there. Okay, so this story is interesting because originally it was supposed to be how they introduced Nicole, because Nicole does make an appearance in this particular comic, whereas she has not been seen in any of the previous issues up to now. They cut it because Ken actually had his own idea for how to introduce Nicole, and in hindsight it was probably better, than this, because they just kind of shoehorn Nicole into the story without much fanfare. This also is where we get reintroduced to the Universal Salamander. Now, I forget if this story is considered canon. I do think the story is maybe half canon. Like the Nicole part isn't, but the Return of the Universal Salamander is. Like, maybe that's canon, but yeah. Again, not really a lot goes on in this one. Other than this fucking picture of Rotor here packing heat. I love this guy. Rotor's so cool in that picture. I don't know why. Oh yeah, Tails is yellow for some reason. Probably as an indication of when this was properly colored and all that. For those wondering, this was part of Sonic Archives number 5. I forget when the Sonic Archives were released, but as per there was a stipulation that, you know, all the characters should be colored right, based on their modern colors. So, that's hard to tell, but I think Sonic's eyes are green in some of these panels. So, you know, you got green-eyed Sonic. Oh no, they are green. I mean, you kind of barely see them, but I think his eyes are green. Oh god. It's hard to necessarily see it, but I do think Sonic's eyes are supposed to be green here. So, yeah, this is like green-eyed Sonic, but with classic Sonic shoes. That's a weird thing, but yeah. I'm gonna zoom in on this. Yeah, you can see Sonic's eyes are green. So yeah, it's supposed to be modern Sonic, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, we got modern Sonic and modern Tails, and Sally with her brown fur, but not her red hair. So it's kind of strange how it's working here. It's like a weird mishmash of classic and modern Sonic stuff. It's weird. I don't like it, but at the same time, I can't complain because this is like weird. I am halfway curious if anyone wants to try and recolor all this, but bring in like the old colors, see how this looks, you know, with pink-furred, black-haired Sally, brown-furred Tails. Probably do a little less with Sonic because all you gotta do is color his eyes black, because that's kind of all he had during the classic era. And that catches us up to issue number 16. Yep, that's that's basically it. Alright, let me go ahead and switch over the music real quick. And alright. In case you're wondering, I've been having a lot of trouble with finding a good editing tool, so you know. So, hold on. Okay, okay, my mic is recording. Cool. Alright. So, let's continue. Issue 16. Sonic Under Glass! Just what I've always wanted. Hedgehog under glass. There's your free Robotnik voice for the day. So yeah, adventure starts off fairly. So this one starts off weird. Apparently this was just after the War of Robotnik. So yeah, at some point Sonic managed to defeat Robotnik. You can actually see Robotropolis is on fire in the background. I don't know why, but I can always just kind of imagine this is a meme image of "This is fine." I don't know why. Anyway, yeah. So months go by, or so it seems, as the comic alludes. Something is very off. Sonic and Sally are suddenly getting married out of nowhere. Antoine, realistically enough, is very, very angry at this. But then it's revealed, uh-oh, it's a plan by Robotnik all along. What do you know? It's almost as if you kind of see it coming, in a way, because considering this is how ridiculous Robotnik was back in the day, where he put all the freedom fighters in a sort of dreamlike state after he had captured the freedom fighters using, what is that? Yeah, sleeping gas. Yep, sleeping gas. Yep. He brings them all here, and they're basically living out their own fantasies. 5,000 hard drive computer. Leave the driving to us. That's funny. Okay, that's actually funny. Imaging chamber, peekaboo, ICU. I love it. So, yeah, while the freedom fighters are distracted, he plans on basically raising all the Great Forest in order to find Knothole, and of course, take down their resistance. But Sonic eventually meets Uncle Chuck. Like the actual Uncle Chuck he hasn't seen in a long time. Naturally, Sonic is a little confused. Oh yeah, and, you know, Sonic is suddenly... Oh yeah, and then... Oh yeah, Sonic has also just kind of put his janitor duty while Antoine is the one getting married to Sally. It becomes a little strange to him now because we also have Dolly's clock happening. I don't know what. Yeah, everything gets a little trippy now. Sonic is trying to understand everything. It's like, why is everything the way it is? And yeah, Sonic does eventually find out that yes, he is in a simulation. And of course comes one little detail that comes with any sort of dilemma, heroic dilemma. Do they want to take away the happiness that the freedom fighters are experiencing, or does he want to save the day? That's always a bit of a dilemma with these sort of things. I think it's obvious that he wants to save the day because, well, this isn't all real. Also, a cameo appearance of Vertical and Horizontal for whatever reason. They're just here suddenly. I think it's actually their last appearance in the comic before we see them again. Post certain event that will come up at the issue 50 line. Don't worry, we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. Anyway, so yeah, Sonic finds out how to get. Sonic basically helps free his friends, and yeah, we then see one last frame of Uncle Chuck. Yeah, he's become janitor duty. What's funny is I'm surprised Robotnik hasn't already used Uncle Chuck to try and fight Sonic with. He uses Mutsky in a later issue, but he doesn't use Uncle Chuck, which is weird. But anyway, yeah, Sonic proclaims that I'll get him back, and when I do, it'll be for keeps. Implying that, yeah, Sonic is going to beat Robotnik next time. Which, predictably, he doesn't. The man from Hedgehog. Okay, this one's funny. So, Robotnik is fed up of losing to Sonic over and over and over. And because of this, he orders for someone to dig up some information on who is giving Sonic so much intel, like who is the one trying to mess up his plans and giving so much intel to Sonic that his plans mess up. Which actually leads into a bit of a funny little gag Garrett comic. Like, this whole thing is kind of a lead up to a joke in a way. Because, yes, all of his plans fail, regardless if even he doesn't know, regardless of even if he doesn't know that his plans are, are gonna work or not. Yeah, you get the idea. Honestly, I just find this whole thing kind of funny. The owls are not what they seem. kisses and hugs, that's funny. I don't know why they would put that in there. Anyway, so this leads up to Sonic and Sally going to Reno Botnik for a place we hadn't seen since what was it, issue 2? So yeah, they're bringing back an old location. That's actually kind of surprising. We're getting actual canon locations suddenly. It's like, oh my god, there's actually a story. They're actually bringing back old locations that I haven't been seen in a while. So yeah, they come to Reno Botnik in order to meet up with their informant, whom is, well, warning Sonic of all things. Is just, warning Sonic. And then, suddenly, but he gets captured, and, of course, he's getting ready to be tortured. But then, Sonic is saved. But how? But, so yeah, Robotnik is foiled, and it turns out the person who was helping Sonic, his name is actually Harvey Who. So, yeah, the who part is actually pretty funny. And this, of course, leads up to a joke of, the obvious joke. How many legs does it take to get to the chewy center of a lollipop, sir? That information, my boy, is classified. I feel like that's poking fun at the commercial for the Tootsie Roll Pops. Anyone ever actually find out how many licks it takes to get to the chewy center of a Tootsie Roll Pop? Or they just try and ask an owl? Or if anyone actually tried to recontextualize that entire commercial into a horror, analog horror. That'd be funny. Alright, so that's it for issue 16. Issue 17. This one... Okay, so this issue, oh boy, this one's actually kind of funny. The premise is so ridiculous on its own that you would think that Mike Gallagher is the one writing this. No. In fact, it is, in fact, Ken Penders. So Sonic and the Free Empire is just kind of doing their own thing. They're mostly just kind of hanging out. They're getting ready for whenever Robotnik comes around, and they're ready to take him down yet again. Broder is sleeping. Yep. So, Robotnik is heading to an island, seemingly, in order to find something. What exactly that is? Well, that happens to be one of his oldest creations. Oh yeah, here is the credits. Ken Penders is the one who wrote this. Also, hi Snively, glad to see you're back. Yeah, Snively starts making a lot more appearances, along with, of course, Crabmeat. Yeah, Crabmeat's still here. Yeah, they discover a giant footprint, which happens to belong to one of Robotnik's oldest creations from back in the day. I think what's funny is that this is kind of canon. So, yeah, they actually do bring this back. This giant creation, of course, is like a Frankenstein-type parody, as he's bringing to life using lightning. Yeah. A lot of references to this one. It's like a mishmash of different references all over this. So yeah, you get the Frankenstein inspiration. You got the whole core. I love this little scenery here, by the way, with the giant footprints. Bigfoot Hills, Giant Gorge, Growlsbad Caverns, Great Ape Lakes, which actually sounds like a place in Donkey Kong. Simeon Falls, also another location for Donkey Kong. Putrefied Forests, Bonehenge. I've been just singing balls, and all I got was this loudest shirt. Sounds like me whenever I get a. Sounds like me whenever I go on vacation. So yeah, eventually they do find who he's looking for. King Gong, not King Kong. King Gong. How timely, considering there's a King Kong game out there that got released early on this year, and I don't know, I find that just kind of funny. Yeah, King Gong is not particularly loyal. In fact, I'm pretty sure when I say it's like one of Robotnik's earliest experimentations with robotics, I do mean it, because he's not exactly very loyal. Yeah. Sonic and Sally are doing their own things. They're getting ready for a picnic. But meanwhile, Robotnik is basically unperturbed by the fact that King Gong is just, eating all their food. He then orders King Gong to go and find Sonic the Hedgehog and destroy him, of course. I love how they repeat a joke from earlier when King Gong first got released. He first escaped. Yeah, he just brought the same wall. Lose more walls that way. Home improvement shop, here I come again. I don't know why that joke does kind of hit. So yeah, it kind of becomes just more so a King Kong parody. Sonic and his friends are trying to enjoy a picnic. King Kong appears, gets infatuated with Sally, just knocks Sonic out of the park like a goddamn baseball, and just kidnaps Sally. They hop onto the tornado, yes, the actual tornado, and yeah, it just becomes one big reference to King Kong, where, Sonic and Tails have to knock the big gorilla off of a large tower and effectively kill him. And what do you know? It actually works. So yeah, it was an okay story. Not exactly what I call my favorite, but yeah, it's okay. But it's here. I think we get into something a little bit more story-driven, so I'll go ahead and end off the song that's playing right now with something else. Yeah, now we have something that's actually kind of more story-driven. Probably the closest thing I can think of. Anyway, first star I see tonight. This is actually a lead-up to a different story that Ken Penders had written, along with Mike Teravich, of course. So Sally's just kind of enjoying the night with the classic, he loves me, he loves me, he loves not, yeah, that sort of thing. But turns out, she got, he loves me not. A little kind of sad answer today for her night. She then kind of goes into memory lane where she just has, she just kind of remembers the good times before Robotnik began his coup. Now, should mention, while we did get a sort of Antoine-esque vision of King Acorn early on in the comic, this is where we actually get a proper introduction to King Acorn, whose design is based off of King Acorn as seen during the introduction of Sadium. Whenever the show would start, Sadium would just kind of give us a glimpse of King Acorn as part of the intro to show that, he's trapped in the void by Robotnik. That sort of thing. So, yeah, we're kind of given an introduction to King Acorn. As Sally is just kind of just staring at the night sky, in kind of lonely because she misses her father, a sudden meteorite comes down and crashes near her. She gets the Freedom Fighters, and they try and look for the meteor, only to reveal that it is some kind of orb from space, it seems. But to Sally, it is not just an orb, it's a sign. I've never seen anything like it. What do you suppose it could be? I'm not sure, Rotor. This may well be the answer to all of my wishes. So she says. Oh yeah, I never even brought it up, but yes. Something I should probably taken time to notice. Sally does now adopt her brown fur, red-haired look, and yes, soon enough she will also get her blue jacket, so she'll be looking much closer to her Sadium counterpart from the issues moving forward. I didn't take time to bring it up, but yeah, I think now is a good time as any to bring it up. But yeah, Sally is starting to look a little closer to her actual counterpart. Issue 18. Yeah, already past that, aren't we? Leave with the tails to hog all the action, and on our wedding day too. This was just funny. So here we have the Wedding Bell Blues, kind of just another little gag story. You'll notice Ken Penders is starting to take over the comic ever so slowly with these ridiculous stories. So yeah, Sonic and Sally are preparing some kind of wedding, it seems like, with Sally herself just kind of decked out in a wedding dress. Antoine, of course, is being everyone's favorite little punching bag. Commit punching bag. Sonic helps him out, but yeah. A Motobug, though, actually does return to Robotnik with news of this unusual wedding. And, well, but something worth noting is, in the last issue, Sonic was able to get a bullseye with a Robotnik target. Robotnik is not having any luck with keeping those darts on his Sonic target. I think that is just too funny. It's like a parallel from the last issue, and I kind of like it. So anyway, Crabmeat gives him the news about this unusual wedding, and he decides he's going to crash this party. Well, I say he's going to crash this party. He is so definitely going to crash this party. Oh yeah, by the way, Batman reference. So yeah, Robotnik is pretty much getting his army ready to, well, invade. Duh. So wedding goes on, but as vows are exchanged, Robotnik decides he's going to crash the party because he has things to say. And by things to say, I mean he's got a laser ready to point. He's ready to point lasers. Or, well, the SWAT pods are anyway. Penguin guy here is trying to keep the peace, but, well, you know, SWAT pods don't give a shit. By the way, I realize this is all in the barnyard. What is with weddings being in barnyards? Something fun. By the way, this is pretty much. I love how we also get a lot of the classic badniks here. So, you know, we got the lizards from Green Hill, you got the slicers from Metropolis Zone, you got the buzzers, you got coconuts, you got crab meat, you got those frickin' things from Spring Yard Zone. You got a lot of different badniks just kind of approaching the barnyard, and I kind of like that. It really is kind of neat. Of course, none of them are a match for Sonic as he demolishes them. They of course, they evade Sniffly. They have Antoine. Robotnik is not perturbed by all of his minions getting crushed. But it turns out it was not actually a wedding, it was actually a play on a wedding. The Naho Village played player production of our wedding. Yep. So yeah, it was just a play the entire time, and Robotnik ended up just being the big finale for it. How interesting. Sonic and Sally get a little Son Alley action here before Sonic says, "Nah, we're saving that for another issue. See ya." But then we do get a continuation of In the Still of the Night, where Rotor is trying to open up the orb, but the orb is seemingly impenetrable. The Rotor is not making a dent. Now, while Rotor continues to work on it, Rosie, the character from Sonic Sadium, yeah, this is actually a Sadium holdover, enters requesting Princess Sally's presence. Sally is informed of something rather important, as one of her teachers, one of her closest mentors, is unfortunately on her last legs. This is not the music for this scene, so I'm going to cut off the music now. So, Sally enters and finds her mentor, Delilah, laying in her bed. She's pretty much on her last legs. She's not going to be able to make it. She recounts how Sally has been nothing but a good student from back in the day. She's always seen her progress, teaching her how to be smart, how to be skilled, all sorts of things. By the way, don't know why, but Nicole's just there. Don't ask me why. Of course, she wasn't always perfect, as Jalila would often find ways to, continue teaching Sally. Even when she and Sonic would be, get together, even when Robotnik attacked, Jalila's always been there for Sally. So of course, Jalila gives Sally one final test and see just how much Sally has grown. Sally kicks the acorn out of Jalila's hand and snatches it, thus completing her final test. An elegant solution. Such wisdom cannot be taught. It must be acquired. You are ready. Farewell, beloved one. And thus, Jalila dies. Sonic appears. He sees a girl crying, seemingly upset. Instead of being his usual self, he decides to come at it very easily. Come at it with an easy touch, a very lighthearted sort of moment between the two, as one night ends, a new day begins, with many more tomorrows ahead. As the comic says, this is definitely not the end, but a beginning. So worth bringing up, this is definitely a very somber story, as we're only just now getting introduced to Jalila. Jalila's not from Sonic Sadium, so if you're confused at who this character is, she was only introduced in this particular issue. She gets referenced a couple more times after this, but she otherwise is just kind of here just to give Sally a little bit of extra trauma and maybe a little bit of extra motivation to continue the fight against Robotnik, because now she has to put Jalila's whole she has to make sure that Jalila's sacrifice is not in vain. She has to try and make sure to end Robotnik's tyranny. So there's that. I do like the story. While I kind of did just kind of give you an abridged version of it, be mindful there's like a bunch of these issues I'm going through, so I kind of have to. But if you read this, it is a bit of an emotional tale. This is kind of giving a little bit of a character to Sally, because prior to this, Sally doesn't really have a lot of a character. And unfortunately, she kind of won't have a very consistent character as the series goes on. Until the Ian Flynn era, at least. Well, we are a long ways from Ian Flynn, so strap in. We're in for a roller coaster. Sorry. Alright. And thus we begin In Your Face. Bring back the music, because I think I can do that. Here. Yeah, why not? Alright. So, In Your Face. This is, I believe, the first Sonic the Hedgehog special. We're making history now. We got our first first Sonic special, which will begin an entire series later on with a bunch of Sonic specials. Also, we got Knuckles and Sonic and Knuckles there. Not sure why, but it's a poster. Never mind. This issue does not have that, so well. We get a few different stories, or rather, we get one big story by Mike Katerovich and Ken Penders. A few pinup pages, all that sort of thing, all that sort of stuff. Art Mawhinney. If the name Art Mawhinney is familiar to anyone, Art Mawhinney, I believe, is the artist. It was either Dave Manak or Art Mawhinney that was the storyboard artist for Sonic Stadium. So, if the name sounds familiar, then there you go. I don't know if he has appeared up to now, but it's probably the first time I'm noticing the name. Then we have the Mirror Zone and Tails' Tallest Tale. So we got quite a bit to get through. It's a little hot in here. Yeah. So let's continue. Princess Sally and Sonic the Hedgehog in The Quest. Princess Sally's Crusade conclusion. So, Sonic and Sally are in the midst of a sparring session, but Sally is kind of not got her head in the game. Sonic notices and asks, "Hey, what's up?" Sally admits that she's not had her head in the game for a while because of the recent shooting star that appeared and Jalila from the last 2 issues that we've read. Rosie comes in saying that, requesting Sally's immediate attention. Before Rosie then tells Sally that Jalila is giving Sally her possessions, which, is kind of sweet of her. It's here we get the introduction to Sally's jacket. So, the blue jacket that we're all familiar with. Get a portrait of Sally and King Acorn, now with blue instead of red. It's a little hard. It's a little picture there. Also, we get Sally's actual design for when she was an actual young princess that I believe is also based off of Sonic Stadium. And, of all things, is a map. A scroll in the form of a map. Sally basically decides to go on her own adventure. But as she is sleeping, she suddenly is called by the mysterious orb, who then greets her. "Hello, Sally." And reveals herself to be Nicole. Now, I mentioned Nicole earlier, but this is her proper introduction into the series from here on. So, Nicole. Yes. So Nicole here is interesting. She is carryover from the Sadium unit. She is, of course, another character from Sadium. If you know Sadium, you know that Nicole, for the most part, is a literal plot device, both in a punny way and in a literal way, because she's a device that practically knows anything you need to know on the spot. She's kind of a device made to carry the plot along, and is sort of a writer's method of getting out of a tight spot without seeming so forced. It's a Dex Machina without being a Dex Machina, in other words. So anyway, Nicole introduces herself to Sally. We're gonna call her she because technically it's voiced by the same voice actress as Sally in the show. So we're gonna just call her she just for the sake of convenience. So anyway, the two greet each other. The Freedom Fighters are wondering what's going on, what's Sally doing up so late, and Sally introduces Nicole, and Sonic does what he does in Sadium, where he shakes Nicole zaps him. That's pretty funny. I love it. But yeah, I do think this introduction is more or less I think this introduction was based on the show, where when Sally and Sonic first interacted with Nicole, Sonic did shake Nicole, and Nicole did zap him. I would have to go back and watch the series, or just watch the series in general. I hadn't watched it yet. So a lot of this is kind of being based on what I've read of the show, so probably should have put that as a disclaimer. Anyway, so Sally decides to keep Nicole and decides to wear Delilah's old jackets in memory of her. She gets her slingshot, which that slingshot appears a few times. I know that slingshot does appear a few times, but once we get into later on in the series, she kind of doesn't really use that thing anymore. She actually just uses her strip martial arts more than anything. She's like the embodiment of a cool normal character. She's got no powers of her own. She doesn't have cybernetics or anything. She is a straight up a regular character. Anyway, Sally wants to do this mission alone, but ends up getting stopped by Sonic and their friends because, of course, they're wanting to join in the journey. They're not gonna let the princess go in alone. Sally really wants to go alone though, but Sonic and the rest are not having any of it. So instead of just trying to argue, she just lets them. Of course, she is hoping that her friends don't get hurt. So anyway, they dive right into one of Robotnik's bases and deals with the SWAT bots. Although mostly just to get them cleared out so they can enter what's called the Forbidden Zone, with one robot, or I'm guessing the commanding robot, is telling his soldiers to not pursue, as entering the Forbidden Zone is certain death for them. So why bother? Also, love the quote down there, "Abandon hope, all ye who enter." I love that. So, yeah. The gang all head into the Forbidden Zone, where they are suddenly stopped by their first obstacle outside the SWAT bots themselves, the Cyclops. If anyone knows Greek mythology, then you know a Cyclops is only as good as that eye of its, but in this case, instead of just poking him in the eye and being done with it, Nicole states that the Cyclops only acts on T-Rex logic. Yeah, Jurassic Park T-Rex logic. where it only acts on motion. So Sonic decides to do literally nothing. But of course, he does say that just staying still is not really a strong suit, and he was getting a little impatient. So they proceed, and they get into their next challenge, a fire-breathing griffin. Or for those that don't know what a griffin is, it's a half bird, half lion. I've heard some griffins also are half man, but I think they're referring mostly to a sphinx at that point, because that's actually what it is, a half woman, half bird, half lion. Anyway, so yeah, they now have to deal with this thing. As Tails is knocked down, Tails sees a sword, and almost as if playing up to Tails being a chosen one. Later, I'll get into that later. He pulls out the sword, which actually was a hidden lever that acted as a sort of contraption for the fake griffin. As it turns out, the griffin was in fact just remote controlled by a sword. Go figure. In any case, they come to their last obstacle. It's myself. I am the last obstacle. Who knew I was actually in this entire car? No, it's just a two-headed dragon. If you don't know why I said that, then you probably should look at my Discord icon. Anyway, so Sally basically gets information from Nicole stating that the twin-headed dragon guards two doors. One door leads to a dead end, maybe even death. The other leads to the path forward. So the twin dragon basically offers one question, and only one question, and only one, and of course to pick one head to answer. Now, the trick to the dragon is that one head will tell the truth while the other will tell a lie. So it's one of those logic questions. It's one of those logic puzzles that makes sense, but is more confusing when you try to explain it. So Sally does decide to ask the obvious question. So here's what it says verbatim. Very well. You, on the left. Which door would the other head claim leads to quest's end?
Truly, you are wise beyond your years, young little princess. My brethren would counsel you to use the door on your left.
Sally, though, logics that it's the door on the right. For you see, if the left-headed dragon is the one telling the truth, then the right one would in fact lie and say that is the door on the left. But if the left head is the liar, then by proxy it would lie about what the right head's answer would be, which would still be left, which would be right instead of left. You follow it? Because it's, like I said, it's a logic puzzle that makes sense, but it's hard to explain. So, yeah. Sally, by the power of logic, goes through the right door, and what do you know? That leads to quest's end. And at quest's end, they find the box, which is a scroll. Sally reads it aloud, and here's what it says. I didn't understand the significance of the moment then, but I do today. Jalela's words have served me in good stead for fully 2 decades. As her final testament clearly stated, the fulfillment of my quest has indeed granted me ownness of the soul, and a sense of peace and well, being worth any past or future price. By having faith in myself, the war against Robotnik was won, as was the heart of my beloved hedgehog. We have a kingdom now, a family, and the children have a grandfather. Now, after all these many years, the final link in an elaborate chain of events is about to be forged. And it would be longer still. Rotor has spent years striving to reclaim the technology that was lost when Nicole was destroyed during the decisive battle with Robotnik. And now that we're finally together again, I must once more say goodbye. Ever since the discovery of the trans-time portal, I knew where Nicole had come from and why. She was a gift to myself, from myself, a friend when I needed one the most. Without her, I might never have lived to see this day, or to fully appreciate Delilah's passing and the 6 little words she left behind. To thine own self be true. And that is quite interesting. Now, going back to the early page, you kind of see Bunny. It's a little hard to see with a text box, but Bunny is now fully Mobian again. She does not have her robotic legs, at least from what we see. Sally and Sonic are now married and have kids, who we'll soon discover are in fact named Sonia and Manic, in direct reference to Sonic Underground, although Manic's case is spelt with a K instead of a C. King Acorn, rather, is returned from the void, and Rotor is the one that built Nicole, as it turns out. Yep. After all these years, so yeah, years later, Nicole would be created by Rotor, is sort of what I can only imagine to be an endless time loop, where Nicole is sent to the past, destroyed in the midst of a battle with Robotnik, rebuilt by Rotor, then sent back to the past again, sort of like an endless loop, which gets broken. And this line here, while I did give it some respect and read it aloud, to thine own self be true, is going to have so less meaning as the series goes on, because we won't know who Sally is for many years to come. And this kind of comes from the consequence of having so many writers writing a single story. So anyway, after that, we got the Mirror Zone, and oh boy indeed. So the gimmick of this one is that you need to hold the comic up to a mirror to read these out. It is strange. I don't know if I can actually do that with the program I'm using, but well, I don't know that I can. What's I can? Hold on. Oops. That was not what I wanted. I guess I can't. Oh well. Well, we're trying at least. Anyway, so yeah. If you want to read all this yourself, yeah, just learn how to use the mirror tool and paint, and you'll be fine. So anyway, and Tails' tallest tale, final story. So Tails is just going on his own. I don't think we need the mystery music anymore. I think we're pretty much done with it. So instead, how about some Spring Yard. So anyway, so Tails is just, going about his day. He's heading to the Sonic fan club. But he gets suddenly spooked by a frog, and, well, this is relevant because when he gets to SonicCon, which, honestly, sounds like a convention I actually would want to go to, he basically decides to tell a little tall tale during a presentation, because, you know, he's Sonic's little bro. So, of course, he would get a presentation all to himself. He meets up with one of quote-unquote, Robotnik's deadly bots, the evil Toadzilla. All from a frickin' frog earlier. Of course, Tails, packing heat in his own imagination, beats up Toadzilla, and that is basically it. Now, what I think is funny about all that is, this kind of goes along with Tails being being a kid. You know, he's gonna have an overactive imagination. Makes sense. Unfortunately, one of the audience members was paying attention and decided, hey, by the way, go deal with Robotnik, because he's here. So yeah, Tails obviously has to deal with Robotnik himself. He gets swatted away by the evil doctor, and I love the following panel where you have to follow the numbers in order to get an idea of where he lands. Is actually kind of funny. It's like playing bingo. So Tails decides to, after recovering, he decides, you know what, I'm actually gonna be a little clever. I'm gonna spin myself and make Robotnik dizzy. Round, round, get around, round, round, get around, I get around. So, yeah, Robotnik gets so dizzy, he actually just falls over and his machine just gets destroyed from it. It's kind of funny. Tails himself gets a little dizzy from his own trip, but, you know. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, real quick. How long have I been recording? Hour and 2. Okay. Not too bad, unless I can manage another hour. Alright. Issue 19. Night of 1,000 Sonics. Oh boy. So, if you want to see just how insane the Sonic multiverse gets, well, strap in. We're about to see just how absolutely insane the multiverse gets, because, oh boy, we're getting into the Sonicverse. So, Night of 1,000 Sonics starts off very simple. By the way, Sally now is going to be with her jacket from now on. I think I mentioned that earlier, but I'm just going to reiterate the point. So yeah. A portal suddenly opens during one of Sonic and his friends' outings, and he's suddenly met with not anti-Sonic, at least not quite the same anti-Sonic, as it's actually a cyborg Sonic. And this cyborg Sonic, basically, now, Cyborg Sonic here is immediately on the attack, but Sonic immediately tries to get him down. Tries to calm him down. Now, Sonic Sonic then explains exactly what was going on, explains the issue 11, basically that he basically crossed into the Cosmic Interstate, and that this guy likely did cross over. And he enters explanation mode as it's revealed that the battle with his Robotnik was so bad that he and his friends, the Freedom Fighters, had to resort to becoming cyborgs, much like Bunny. So, you know, he basically had to roboticize himself. But in retaliation, Robotnik roboticizes himself, turning himself into a much deadlier opponent known as Robotnik. And so with his new firepower, basically Cyborg Sonic here says that the entire multiverse could be in genuine danger. And so so the two Sonics decide to round up as many of the other Sonics as they could, and you see like a bunch of references all in this one panel. So yeah, you got of course Cyborg Sonic, you got the Sulk, the Incredible Sulk. You got Pirate Sonic, you got Bat Sonic, Jester Sonic, Mummy Sonic, Astronaut Sonic. You got Caveman Sonic, which honestly just makes me think of Sonog from an earlier issue. You got Police Sonic. You got Ronin Sonic. You got Wolverine Sonic. You got Musketeer Sonic there. You got Robin Hood Sonic. Or, as I like to call him, early Robbo the Hedge. You got Submarine Sonic, who appears to be out of his guild. You got so many freaking Sonics, it's weird. And, well, of course, all these Sonics are here in attention. You got, by the way, more Sonics down here. You got freaking, Surfboard Sonic. You got, Strawman Sonic. So many Sonics. So Sonic Prime, as he's called now in this particular issue, basically explains the whole situation, that there is a new crisis upon them. And as he explains, well, Robo Robotnik makes his appearance with his new Shadow Bots. Not quite the swap bots, but basically are supposed to be an upgrade to these swap bots. Now, I never mentioned this, but I think now is a good time as any to get into the swap bots design and why they seem to differ from the Sadium design. The swap bots are in fact from the show, but the swap bots that we see throughout the Archie comics during Robotnik's rule are in fact a prototype design. Like, they were in the pilot episode, but were redesigned for the main show. So what we're seeing is basically like the beta design for the swap bots. The Shadow Bots, however, are in fact based on the actual swap bots they see in the show themselves. So this is actually more show accurate. However, Robo Robotnik is an entirely new character. He was not in the actual show. So, yeah. Speaking of Robotnik, Robotnik sees his Robo Double causing trouble, and instead of just working with him, he's like, "Hey, this is my Mobius. Nobody's ruling my Mobius," and decides to sends his swap bots out to fight the Shadow Bots. And a rumble, and I love this little cutout here. You can like create your own little swap bot or Shadow bot, and that's actually kind of fun. Kind of wish they did this more. Honestly, I might do this myself in my own free time, but yeah. Remember to get your safety scissors. So anyway, after this quick little brawl, Robotnik appears, basically taunting his Robo counterpart. Before deciding to team up with Sonic, which Sonic is reluctant, but does agree. So yeah, Robotnik is with Sonic on this one. Now, it's here that we get a little thing here. This comes relevant because the bigger they are, the harder they fall. That sort of lesson. So the idea. So, what is Robo Robotnik's motivation here? What is his whole goal here? Well, he intends to find the thing called the Giant Borg. A Giant Borg is basically a sort of robot thing that has immaculate power, and if it gets into Robo Robotnik's hands, he is just going to destroy the entire universe. So the Sonics are going into the Cosmic Interstate in order to find the Giant Borg and make sure it doesn't get into Robo Robotnik's hands, or Robotnik's hands, of course, because he's going to be betraying the Sonics anyway. Now, Robo Robotnik is, of course, very aware of these sort of things. So, Robo Robotnik decides to bring in a sort of assistant. Some assistants from the most unexpected place, which is the Anti-Mobius, aka Anti-Sonic, is brought into the story once again, where he basically acts as an ally to Robo Robotnik. So yeah, Sonic and the Sonics, Sonic and the Sonics sounds like a band, head off into basically the neutral zone. Now, this is kind of a confusing bit for me. When I think of the neutral zone, I think of like the no zone, but apparently the no zone is not quite in like the center. Well, I'll get into the no zone when it becomes relevant, but it is just kind of one of those confusing things that I'm like, what's the neutral zone then? Anyway, so yeah, they're heading to the neutral zone to find the giant board. And I do like this little bit here where as they enter the neutral zone, they basically are, their colors are basically taken out. So eventually they find the giant's hand, which is part of the giant board. Anti-Sonic, though, appears with the Shadowbots and basically snags the giant's hand, which then leads to Robo Robotnik creating the giant board. So now, with a new threat, the Sonics now have to figure out how to stop Robo Robotnik and his new giant machine. Sally proposes an idea, which was based off of the Sonics ganging up on the Incredible Sulk earlier. And that's using basically the power of giantism against the giant board. The bigger they are, the harder they fall, basically. So, Robo Robotnik basically lifts off the foot, and the Sonics go ham, tipping over the giant robot. And oh yeah, by the way, you can play a little game of find the object in this large image, 2-page image. Kind of funny. I want to do that, but in any case, Robo Robotnik is ultimately defeated and rendered as nothing more than a head. Cyborg Side takes his Robo Nuisance back, and he says he won't be coming back. Hasta la vista, Hedgehog. Robotnik tries to take the giant board for himself, but the other side just immediately say, he gets surrounded. Of course, he's unable to escape. Oh well. So yeah, the other side is to take the giant board pieces to their universe, so that way this whole thing does not ever come back. As far as they're concerned, basically this whole thing is now donezo. Whew, okay. By the way, this seems like a lot. Yep. Yeah, it's a lot, alright. Okay, gotta get into a more comfortable position, because we're still not even into the serious story stuff yet. I mean, we got a snippet of it in the Princess Sally little series, but we're not even close to the actual story part of this series, so just hang on tight. Anyway. So Sonic is dead in this one. Issue 20, that's the spirit. So, this story begins with Sonic and Sally infiltrating Robotnik's base again, this time under the assumption of an antimatter machine. Robotnik apparently has built an antimatter machine, and Sonic and Sally need to get rid of it. Unfortunately, and they do find what looks to be the machine itself. So, yeah. So, yeah, Sonic decides to go in alone, but as it turns out, it was just a trap. I love how, instead of worried for Sonic, Sally's just like extremely pissed. She's like, God damn it, Sonic. So anyway, Robotnik appears, and basically claims that the whole thing about the anti-matter machine, that was just a rumor he started, because, well, he basically couldn't get it to work. But he does plan on roboticizing Sonic now that he's trapped. But instead of being roboticized, he decides he's just going to blow the whole goddamn base up. Unfortunately, before he is able to make a getaway himself, he unfortunately gets exploded on. Sally managed to escape, although seemingly barely. But she delivers the bad news as Sonic is unfortunately no longer around. Tails, though, doesn't believe it. He's like, nah, my buddy's not dead. How dare you think he's dead? Well, we're shown that Sonic is dead, seemingly? Yep. As Sonic basically phases through a door that falls on top of him. Yep. Sonic basically just does not... Yeah, Sonic's basically something of a spirit. He cannot be heard, and he has no corporeal form, seemingly. So, yeah. So, the Freedom Fighters are, of course, convinced that he is dead. They try to erect a statue of him, which does not look at all like a statue. What kind of heroic statue is that, Rotor? It was the best I could do, Sally. I love that. Tails is, of course, still convinced that Sonic is not dead. Sonic, though, is just like, wait, but I'm not dead! Before he starts to really gaslight himself into believing he's a ghost. Feeling down on his luck, he kicks a rock. But not only does the rock fly, he himself starts to yell in pain, which alerts a frog. Which suddenly makes him realize that whatever happened to him is temporary, and in fact, it may have had something to do with the antimatter machine that he destroyed earlier. So he assumes. Anyway, so Sonic returns to where his friends were, only to find a note that his friends went off to go avenge his death. Also, I love the last part saying that if you are dead, then pay no attention to this letter. As if a dead person would. So Robotnik, of course, is very, very happy about Sonic's death. Yeah, he's very happy, he's jovial, he's basically just skipping around, dancing, basically breaking like several of his own rules. But then Sniffly alerts him that the Freedom Fighters are coming to avenge Sonic's death. But Robotnik is none too perturbed by it, as he gets ready to basically destroy the Freedom Fighters. Sonic, though, decides to hitch a ride, still invisible, and basically starts to haunt Robotnik. Disguising himself as a ghost with a voice, basically saying that if Robotnik does not change his ways, he will haunt Robotnik forever. So, basically now with thorough convincing that he's being haunted, Robotnik just decides to immediately evacuate with Snively, and I love this last minute line right here where you You better let me land first.
You'll sure to, sir.
This last frame with Robotnik with a friggin' pompadour. That's funny. Oh god. Okay. Well, I guess I wasn't gonna be able to stall this for very long, was I? Alright. So we're about to get introduced to probably everyone's most hated character. If you know this comic, you know there are quite a few characters that people loathe, but later start getting appreciation for. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get introduced to one such character, but let's go ahead and get into what's going on screen. So, Sally is infiltrating yet another base for Robotnik. She's infiltrating a base. That's been the norm. And, well, yeah. The Deadliest of the Species, Prologue, by Mike Katerovich and Ken Penders. So, Sally takes down a SWAT bot and starts going through the motions of infiltration, starting off seemingly a timer for a timer for what seems to be a bomb, just self-destruct sequence. But as she's leaving, she sees we see a shadow in the background. Before turning the corner, we see and meet one certain skunk. We don't get his name right away, but this is Geoffrey St. John, a character who, yeah. We'll get into why he's a bit of a cunt, but for now, just know that nobody likes this guy. All my homies hate this guy. But yeah, Geoffrey St. John. We'll get more into him later. Oh, and the SWAT bot there is obviously just kind of skulking in the background. And, well, I guess rather than later, I guess we're going to get into it now. So, yeah, this was actually a prelude to the Sally miniseries. A miniseries that follows the adventures of Princess Sally, Geoffrey St. John, and a bunch of recruits that follow Sally. Now, I'm going to mute the music real quick because I do want to get into this. Also, I'm going to go get myself some water, so I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. So, before we start the Princess Sally miniseries proper, I want to get into a couple of things. A couple of noteworthy things about this particular arc. I'm just checking. I'm still recording. Okay. So the Princess Sally miniseries. Ken actually had a couple of ideas for this one. That originally featured more than what we see here. Originally, what was intended to happen for this miniseries was Sally was going to meet her mother, who turned out to be evil. She's like an evil mastermind of sorts. Like, she was supposed to be all evil, that sort of thing. It was gonna be Sally, the freedom fighters, against Sally's mother. The writer, or the editor, at the time, which let me flip the page real quick and find out if that editor's name is somewhere. Editor-in-Chief Richard Goldwater. Here we go. Yeah, Richard thought that was maybe a little too dark, or maybe it was Victor Gorlick, or Scott Fulop. Scott Fulop was an editor? What? That's news to me. Anyway. someone thought that was just maybe a little too dark, and then maybe Ken should not go that angle. So, yeah, basically his idea was just Ken. So instead, he offered, why not Sally and Bunny go into, or on a picnic. That was declined. So instead, he was only offered to do a story with Sally and Robotnik, and everything else had to be original. So he created Geoffrey St. John. He created these other freedom fighters who we don't really see a whole lot of. We get maybe like 2, 3, 4 stories after this where they appear. So they get a little bit more screen time than other characters who I've kind of noted. But other than that, they don't get a whole lot more screen time than what you see here. And of course, Robotnik is of course the big villain. So that's kind of a little context behind the Princess Sally miniseries. So let's just get right into the actual miniseries itself. Sonic the Hedgehog's teammate Princess Sally, starring in her own action-packed miniseries. Time to read all this. Okay. Not long ago, the planet Mobius was a world of great beauty and joy. Gaia by the benevolent King Acorn all seemed like a paradise. That is, it was until the evil Dr. Ivo Robotnik rose up against the inhabitants of the great city of Mobotropolis, conquering the land and its people. In the aftermath of the devastation created by Robotnik and his mechanical army of SWAT bots, he subjected the citizens to a process whereby they were remade into mechanical slaves, toiling over the polluted lands on the now re-Christian Robotropolis. As for the king, to this day, no one can be certain of his fate. But where there is great loss, there is often found great hope. Among the youngest of the citizenry were its most courageous. Banding together as a group of freedom fighters, they struggle to one day regain what was once theirs. Among the greatest of the freedom fighters is Sonic the Hedgehog, the swiftest of them all, assisted by his loyal friend Tails. Rotor serves as the group's inventor and the chief engineer. Antoine is renowned for his military skills. Bunny Rabbit makes great use of her robotic limbs. Led by the courageous and resourceful Princess Sally, they form the spearhead of the Rebel Alliance. As Robotnik's forces grow in size and strength, Princess Sally knows the freedom fighters must do the same, and so she begins to recruit the next generation of freedom fighters. And there you go. So we get a bit of a recap of the events in the last issue, where she self-destructs the base that she was infiltrating and meets up with Geoffrey St. John. Of course, and we continue exactly where we left off, where the SWAT bots are now gunning down the duo. I wish they could hit Geoffrey St. John just end this quick, but oh well. So yeah, they start retaliating against the SWAT bots, Sally and Geoffrey. And, well, Sally tosses out a bomb and basically explodes the SWAT bots. Geoffrey and Sally leave the base immediately before the SWAT bots can potentially regroup and head to base camp where we meet up with a bunch of freedom fighters. The most notable one, I'm sure most of you will immediately recognize, is one certain pig, Hamlin. Hamlin is a noteworthy character, not for this series, but for later. As he starts causing a lot of trouble for the freedom fighters much later. We'll get into that late. We'll get into that. But outside of him, there's Penelope. There's this porcupine. There's the armadillo there named Arlo, which, yeah, if he looks a little different from Mighty, there's a reason for it. They actually do explain it. So, yeah. Now, from here, Sally looks a little different. I can't quite put my finger on it, but she's looking a little different. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, Hamlin and Geoffrey suddenly get into a bit of a tussle. Sally comes in and, well, yeah. Geoffrey just got a little carried away. That's all. But Hamlin ain't. Didn't hear no bell, so he decides to go for another round. But, yeah, Sally breaks him up. All's well. All's well, though. Sally introduces Geoffrey St. John, part of the Rebel Underground, to the new recruits. And we're given the names of our next generation of freedom fighters. Arlo the armadillo, Penelope the duck, Platypus, I think she's a duck, Dylan the porcupine, and of course Hamlin the pig. Yeah, obviously Geoffrey and Hamlin don't get along too well. But as dawn breaks out, Sally begins to explain what exactly they're going to be doing. They need to shut down 3 stations, which is protecting a singular base of Robotnik. Shutting down these other stations will enable the Freedom Fighters to enter Robotnik's well-guarded base. Sally has already destroyed one of these bases during the prologue, so now their mission is to get rid of the other 2. Hamlin and Geoffrey they're back and forth again. But Sally rallies the troops and they're off. The next base of their operation is this sort of Mayan temple type thing. I could not tell you why this specific design, but hey, at least you can claim that Robotnik is cultured. They're suddenly attacked by, I think, are supposed to be missile launchers, but Sally puts an end to that right away by doing things Half-Life style. Seriously, I can't think of it. Seriously, the only thing missing is sniper rifles. Anyway, Sally and the Freedom Fighters enter the base, and they begin their usual process. But they're soon ambushed by Orbots, which look like something out of War of the Worlds a little bit. Not gonna lie, I kind of like the design of these things. It's so weird. So they begin to fight these Orbots, or rather, they start to hide from these Orbots because they're a little gunned down. Sally begins to think of something. Using some wires, she basically tries to tip one of these robots over. Geoffrey saves Hamlin from getting crushed, and, well, they begin to immediately leave the facility as the facility blows up. The remaining Orbot gives chase, but unfortunately, it walks off a cliff and probably dies. And that's that then, huh? Well, Hamlin and Geoffrey get into their another spat. Sally is having none of it, and that's basically it. Or so it seems, as Geoffrey suddenly wakes up, sneaks out of camp, and opens up some kind of portal leading into a base of some kind. Going in, we soon see that he is overlooking a pod that seems to contain another Sally, which leaves a lot of questions about what the heck is going on, obviously. So that takes us into Princess Sally number 2. But By the way, I don't know if you noticed, but the artwork is starting to look really good. Yeah. Armin Winnie really does know how to do good work. Oh, Penelope is this platypus. I don't think I ever noticed that she had a beaver tail. I always thought she was a duck. Don't ask me why. Anyway. So, on to issue 2. Sonic the Hedgehog's teammate, Princess Sally, leads a band of freedom-fighting cadets while facing an unseen foe. Now for another story. As the fight for freedom rages on, it has been one of Princess Sally's many obligations to select and recruit the soldiers of tomorrow, training them for the important tasks that lie ahead, gathering only the best and brightest young hopefuls from the citizenry of Naho Village. The princess has assembled a core team of 4 members whose main purpose is to be the second vanguard in the struggle to overthrow the evil genius Dr. Ivo Robotnik. Foremost of the group is Hamlin, quick to anger, slow to forgive, but he is often the first to leap into action, but usually the last to look where he's going. Next is Penelope, fiercely loyal to her friends and comrades. Her love for all animal kind is the driving force in her personal fight against tyranny. Arlo, cheerful and courageous, will always put the needs of his teammates ahead of his own, regardless of whatever personal costs it may entail. Finally, there is Dylan. With a heart of a warrior and soul of a poet, he never mistakes the forest for the trees and functions as the spiritual anchor for his colleagues. Together, there is no challenge, dare, or risk these adventurers will not accept, embracing the philosophy that it won't get done until we get it done. They strive each and every day to live up to that ideal, working toward restoring Mobotropolis to the paradise it once was. Untested and untried, they now embark upon a mission which shall change their lives forever. So, we get a recap of the last episode. Last couple of issues. Geoffrey and Sally blow up a thing, and I swear, Sally is a little different. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know. Can you guys tell me? I can't tell. Anyway, they blow up the 2 bases, and Geoffrey is being a little sus. You know, if he was playing a game of Among Us, I'm pretty sure everyone would just vote him out right away. Which is appropriate. Anyway, so, starting off the issue, Geoffrey and Hamlin are having a bit of a duel. Let's just say it's not a friendly duel, as Penelope, Arlo, and Dylan are a little... Is definitely, is definitely a little worried that Hamlin may be taking things a little too seriously. Geoffrey, of course, being a bit more experienced in combat than Hamlin, takes down the pig. But Sally, of course, proving that she's a bit more experienced than even Geoffrey, puts him in his place. So, anyway, Sally then leads the group into their next destination, the next base, and they take down in order to get into Robotnik's main base, which is sitting very pretty on a atoll, which the editors are very kind to give us an idea of what an atoll is: a ring-like island that encloses a lagoon. Good to know. So, with that, I guess we're going to need to pay a toll in order to get into this base. But, joking aside, Sally preps them for what essentially is a new experience called air gliding. Or, rather, hang gliding. My bad. And this is kind of where the best question of how much the Mobians know about actual strategy, considering Up to this point, Sally is not really known about hang gliding. Like, none of them know what hang gliding is. Even though I think hang gliding was fairly popular around this time in real life. I don't know. Might be a Mobian thing. Anyway, they head into the base, and, well, obviously, the base is armed with anti-air cannons, so yeah, they have to take evasive action and basically drop. And in Sally's own words, "Quick, ditch the gliders, then follow me through the underbrush." Basically avoiding any potential scouts. They eventually find Arlo, who had unfortunately crashed and broke his leg, but he seems to be otherwise okay. Penelope decides to stay behind. Or rather, Sally... Penelope stays behind in order to safeguard Arlo. With Sally promising that they'll be back shortly, but, well, to be prepared if they don't. They arrive at the next base. SWATbot comes out. Honestly, the only thing that's missing is a not joke here, and then I'm pretty sure I'd be laughing. But anyway, SWATbot gets hit in the head, gets knocked out right away. They do their thing, but then Sally gets met with Japan. Yeah, I've seen enough anime to know where this is going, and I'm not sure Sally's prepared for it. Anyway, that joke aside, Geoffrey begins. Basically, they try to figure out how to deal with this big technical thing. Geoffrey is trying to do something, arming what looks to be a bomb, and puts it onto the massive robot. Sally gets a little bit free before using paint, not pepper spray, but paint to get out of the monster's grip, and blows up. And Geoffrey, and through Geoffrey's bomb, blows up the monster and the base as well. As the group managed to barely survive, they immediately go back to find Arlo and Hamlin are just gone. Dylan suspects Sally says that they need to just carry on without him. Hamlin, though, calls her out on this because it's like they just can't abandon their friends. But of course, Sally sympathizes with him, stating that if they remain any longer, Robotnik's going to send troops, and it's not going to be looking very good for them. So they have to take an unfortunate action and leave. So with that, everything seems to be going in order until just before dawn. Geoffrey comes out of his tent holding Princess Sally. He goes to unlock the doors and basically stating that his benefactor that he put in Princess Sally into the pod and is now enabling a switch. But something is a little sus as something seems a little sus. I'm not sure why, but anyway, the other Sally comes out of the pod and yeah. Story continues on to the next part of the plan as they now head into the main base. Sally, Hamlin, and Dylan are the only ones left for this mission. Hamlin brings up the obvious question of where is Geoffrey St. John, as we see Geoffrey carrying what looks to be a hover coffin. I don't know what else to describe it. It's just a hover coffin to his benefactor, who turns out to be none other than Dr. Ivo Robotnik himself. And inside the coffin is Princess Sally. Confused? Yep. Well, continuing on, it's Princess Sally number 3. This one's fun. I'm having fun. Are you having fun? I'm having fun. Also, this is a bit misleading because we never actually get to see. This is a bit misleading. I'll explain why later. Anyway, Sonic the Hedgehog's teammate Princess Sally, along with her freedom-fighting cadets, race to stop their enemy's most devious scheme yet. Oh boy. Get right into it, shall we? One of the many outstanding qualities Princess Sally reveals in her capacity as Commander-in-Chief of the Freedom Fighters and spearhead of the resistance movement against evil tyrant Dr. Ivo Robotnik is swift, sure judgment. The combination of this attribute with her ability to take decisive action regardless of personal cost contributes to the Freedom Fighters' success as a team. Really, I thought it was Sonic Speed. While their troops play out their appointed roles, only Sally sees the big picture. To lead effectively, she must retain their trust and respect, for in a war, there is no room for hesitation. When she gives an order, it is to be carried out. No questions asked, no answers given. Their loyalty must remain absolute at all times, or the cause is already lost. Entrusted with the lives of her charges, the young princess wears the mantle of leadership stoically. Often called upon to make tough choices by virtue of her rank, she longs for the day when peace and prosperity once again reigns over the planet Mobius. Until that day, she will fight to free her people, and they will fight courageously by her side. So, recapping the last three or so issues. The basically destroying all of Robotnik's bases. Hamlin asking where the heck Geoffrey is, and Geoffrey revealing himself to be a spy all along. We enter within Robotnik's base as Hamlin is open firing on a SWAT-bot, almost being fired by a SWAT-bot himself, with Sally and Dylan on the side, also doing a little bit of fighting themselves. They keep trying to make their march forward, but Hamlin is unfortunately shot down by a couple of lasers as it destroys the bridge he's on. As he tumbles, Princess Sally catches him and tries to pull him up. Of course, being a pig, is a bit heavy. They immediately barge into a room where they confront Dr. Ivo Robotnik himself, who explains away his entire plan. Hamlin, of course, is a bit angry because he knew that Geoffrey was a traitor all along. But Sally then aims her slingshot at Hamlin. As explained by Robotnik, that the Sally that is with them is in fact a duplicate created in order to fool the freedom fight, this generation of freedom fighters. And in fact is an automaton, basically an auto-automaton. Now this little thing does come back later, but this is actually very important. So, yeah. It basically plans to replace each member of the Freedom Fighters with an auto-automaton. Basically a near-perfect replica of the actual Freedom Fighters that are under Robotnik's control. Robotnik then explains that Geoffrey St. John was basically working with him all along. and that he plans to roboticize Sally in order to finalize his plan. But something happens. Instead of a roboticized princess coming out of the pod just outright explodes. And it turns out the princess that was inside the pod was not actually the princess. And in fact, Sally wasn't going to be roboticized that easily. Oh boy. Sally gets ready to shoot Robotnik, but Robotnik decides to bring in his plan B. A few giant robots to deal with the freedom fighters. But as it seems like they're outmatched, a sudden cavalry comes out in the form of the Rebel Underground. As Penelope and Arlo also make their appearance, along with Geoffrey's own cavalry. Robotnik, of course, initiates a self-destruct sequence, feeling that the base is lost, but he's willing to keep up the war. He escapes, leading to the group, making a quick escape through the vehicle bay, as the base explodes. Sally congratulates the new freedom fighters for all their hard work, but then explains how the entire plan to Hamlin after asking. Basically explaining that the Sally that was with the group the whole time was in fact not the actual Sally, as indicated by her jacket color. I was kind of alluding to that, actually. Not very subtly, I was alluding to that. Geoffrey St. John was privy to this plan, and so decided to do the switch early, swapping the normal princess with the fake princess and having them swap again later. So Geoffrey's whole thing was not, Geoffrey's cover was not blown. When it came to Penelope and Arlo's sudden disappearance, the Rebel Underground were the ones to find them and take Arlo to safety. So when they disappeared, well, that's kind of the whole point. They're supposed to make a disappearing act, so that way they won't be in the open for potential SWAT bots coming in to patrol. Now, the explosion part is interesting, as it turns out the robotization does not work on other robots. So, basically, when Robotnik tried to roboticize the fake Sally, it exploded. This comes back, actually. Believe it or not, this actually does come back. As, this comes back much, much later in the future. Like, I'm talking, like more than 150 issues from here. We're going to come back to this, but let's just say that it becomes a big plot point for a much, much later thing. And it's actually kind of clever how it's used. I do like this design flaw quite a bit, because, yeah. Anyway, so, yeah, they basically had to be very hush-hush about the entire plan. Now, this actually does lead into something. A bit of a complaint for a lot of people. This meant that for the first couple of issues of the Princess Sally miniseries, up until the end of issue 2, Princess Sally has not been in her own series. She is, we were in fact following a not Princess Sally the entire time. And, Gag. Yep, yeah. So, as Geoffrey is about ready to take off, and Sally's about to head back to her own friends, the two smack lips. I don't like it. I feel like I should censor this somehow. I don't like it. And the narration ends on this. We left for Naho Village soon thereafter. Though Robotnik had not been vanquished, he had been deterred, which meant my obligations as a freedom fighter took precedence over more personal concerns. And what of my heart? Where there was one, there are now two. Sally, I love you, but you dumb bitch! You dumb bitch! No! Geoffrey is an adult. You are a teen. This is no bueno. This is no bueno. This is not good. This is not good. But that's the end of the Sally miniseries. We end off on that note. For those wondering, yeah, Ken tried to push this ship real hard. Even going as far as saying that while Sonic is fast, Geoffrey is faster. If you're wondering the context on that, basically stated very bluntly, very, very bluntly, that Geoffrey took Sally's virginity. I hate it. I think that's the reason why Geoffrey gets so little fan art. Because of that quote and the fact that they try shipping these two. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate this so much. Okay. On to something actually good. Now, I think this is his first appearance, but this is the introduction to one certain artist. One certain Patrick Spaziante, aka Spaz. I think this is his introduction issue, if we have not already missed it earlier. Yeah, this is basically his first issue, where he is essentially going to be a pretty important artist for later. Let's just say that his presence here, it cannot be anything more than a good thing, or anything less. So, anyway, 3 Phases of Eve is the first story we're brought into from the Sally miniseries. Sonic is fighting a bunch of swap bots, just dealing with them. He of course questions why he's just sending out just a bunch of random mooks to fight them, but he doesn't care. He likes bashing bots, you know how he is. But then, but we reveal that, yeah, Robotnik is, in fact, watching, and is that Robotnik's mom? Mother Robotnik? Sorry. I don't know. That's just funny. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, Robotnik is just observing Sonic's prowess, and he seems quite pleased with himself, despite obviously his his robots being destroyed. Sniffly inquires on why he's so pleased, though. And it turns out that he's basically getting raw data from Sonic's actions, as he basically is making a plan. A very big plan. By taking all these raw data, he intends to create a powerful new robot. One that will ensure the destruction of Sonic the Hedgehog. Trademark. And so we are given the introduction of one certain Eve, the exceptionally versatile Evolvinoids. I absolutely love the name. Because, believe it or not, this is only one half of one certain, like, kind of introduction to a layer character, to a kind of theming that I kind of like, and it's really, really funny, and how twisted it is. I don't even think it was intentional, but it was still funny. So anyway, Sonic and Tails are, having their day. Sonic is just retelling how he fought more of the swap bots. Tails is listening in until a robot bursts from the ground. Sonic is grabbed. Tails is smiling. Oh, he looks like he's smiling. I'm not sure what emotion that's supposed to be. On the lower right. Sonic is tossed aside, but he starts to dodge all the different, bullets coming at him, and makes quick work of the new robot. It could be could be the Tin Woodsman. That's funny. So, yeah. As Sonic is trying to understand what exactly just happened, Snively states that the robot was quite ineffective, stating that, I'm not really impressed. But Robotnik is still quite confident, as he reveals that the way that Eve was created was through the power of Robotnik's intelligence and Sonic's own quill, or body cells. Now, I like the little imagery of Robotnik's brain looking like a peanut. That's kind of inaccurate when you kind of consider this guy is quite lethal it's quite lethal in ways you wouldn't quite expect. So anyway, Robotnik isn't quite thrilled about the idea of having a piece of him being merged with a piece of that rodent, but whatever, because as he's speaking, the Eve suddenly takes a different shape, now appearing as a giant wasp robot, as it chases after Sonic and Tails. Sonic once again Sonic begins to quick think, and immediately has the robot immediately charge into a wall, crashing. Now, Sonic eventually finds out that the robot that attacked him earlier and the wasp robot are in fact the same robot. And so, he goes to confront Robotnik himself. Robotnik reveals information about Eve, basically stating that no matter how many times Sonic fights her, she'll only get progressively better and better, learning from each battle and just getting much stronger from it. Sonic does learn that the hard way, but of course he's as resourceful as he is speedy, as he tries to basically tie up Eve. But as he's gloating, Eve demorphs and becomes gelatinous, basically untangling herself until she emerges as a giant brain. I'm actually going to read this now. I am Eve, an exceptionally versatile evolvinoid. My programming states that I am to learn, grow, adapt to any and all eventualities, to surpass my limitations, and my single greatest limitation is Dr. Ivo Robotnik.
Me? You can't be serious! I gave you form, knowledge, the desire to improve yourself, all the qualities of life.
Precisely. But you also created me using cells from your body and the hedgehog's. Robotnik, your cells didn't provide intelligence, but instead evil, which was overpowered by what I received from Sonic. You mistakenly thought his cells provided resourcefulness, but that's mostly a learned trait. Yes, although he is impatient, he does have the ability to think for himself, and the logic I gained from him tells me I no longer need to be your servant. You thought you were smart by giving me your combined qualities, but that led to your downfall. And thus, Robotnik is dead. Like, he is vaporized by his own creation. And Sonic is about to be next, but Sonic quickly thinks ahead and decides to give Eve a lecture that her true the thing that's holding her back more so than Ivo Robotnik is her own programming that she doesn't need to destroy him in order to, improve. Eve sees logic in this and ultimately decides to evolve beyond her programming, becoming one with the stars, flying into the unknown. This becomes interesting later, let's just say. We'll see her again much later. Anyway. With that, Sonic and Tails kind of reflect on their victory and the fact that, what will happen to Mobius now that Robotnik is gone. Sniffly, on their hand, could care less and just shouts, "Get out! Both of you! Just get out!" As he starts to mourn the loss of Robotnik. Now, does this truly mean to be the end of Robotnik? The next page tells me no. No, I don't think that's the end of Robotnik. Anyway, before we delve into that little chestnut, I need to go use the bathroom real quick, so I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Let's just say that, duty calls. Also, I just realized I have not been playing my music throughout this entire thing. Oops. I completely forgot about it, didn't I? Alright. So, on to the next part of this little mini saga. Sonic the Hedgehog, issue number 22. The Return. So, our next issue starts off actually in the future that we saw previously. Sonic and Sally are just kind of enjoying themselves until suddenly lightning crashes down. And then suddenly King Sonic just sees Robotnik just fall from the sky out of nowhere. And I feel like this would incite some PTSD right away, because seeing the sudden return of your long dead enemy just come back out of nowhere, I don't know, I feel like you'd be freaking out way more than you should be, Sonic. Of course, Sonic and Sally are curious as to the heck what was going on, but Sonic rations that it was just a weird freak of nature. He hopes. But while King Sonic reassures his family all is well, the incredible surge of energy that flashed for him had been harnessed by an unseen force. Unseen, that is, by those who live on Mobius, far below the unusual craft that now orbits the planet.
It's been a long time since as my sensors detected such power. No matter what, I must investigate. In doing so, I may find a solution to my dilemma.
You can't! You... Where am I?
Welcome, my friend. You are my ship.
It's been a long time since anyone thought of me as a friend. Who said that? What? It looks like me on some computer screen.
I am you. Or rather, you will be me. In simpler terms, I am what's left of you.
Left? What do you mean?
And here I thought Snively was adult. Haven't you figured it out yet? This world is an alternate timeline from the Mobius you know.
You mean I'm in another dimension, dealing with another version of myself? That's happened before.
During my final battle, the hated hedgehog, I was left with no choice. I had to undergo revitalization if I were to have any hope of overpowering Sonic. I merely delayed the inevitable with one chance remaining. I uploaded my core memory to this station that I designed and built other intentions in mind. Unfortunately, the station was far from complete. I may have saved myself from fool Sonic, but at an unforeseen cost. Now, all I can do is just operate the station's functions until my systems run dry. All is lost.
Never! You've just only lost another battle, as have I. But the war continues. Look at me. If you remember, I thought I was just obliterated. Instead, I was flung into this alternate timeline by my renegade creation Eve. I survived and lived to fight another day. And someday, in your future, you will evolve to the next level. Right now, the clearest course of action for me to return where I belong. So, I may ensure that this time, I win. Any ideas how I can jump onto the trans-dimensional highway to home?
Well, if I reverse the polarity of the thermostat and tweak the tolerances a tad on this tunic, voila! Good luck, and may the force of evil be with you.
Hope you guys enjoy my voice acting. It is not the best, but I decided to add in that little extra laugh. You know, he's secretly laughing. So, anyway, continuing on, Sonic and his friends are basically moving stuff around from presumably Robotropolis as the end of Robotnik has come. Like, they've seen the end. But Sally is not too sure. She's a little... what's the right word for it? I guess you could say... she's a little skeptical about it. Snively is watching on from the screen and begins to whine before uttering a certain phrase. To think that Sonic has finally won it all. Oh, the pain, the pain! Huh? Well, what's going on here?
Attention, freedom fighters! You may think you have beaten me, but I haven't even begun to fight back.
Huh? That's Robotnik. That can't be!
In fact, I can, if I can't have Mobius.
Over there, Sonic! On that monitor!
Neither will you.
It must be some kind of pre-recorded message.
For my last act from beyond the grave,
Somehow, I don't think I like this.
I will unleash my army of SWAT bots and other assorted mechanoids to totally devastate, demolish, and just plain turn Mobius into a wasteland!
And he does exactly that. or rather the pre-recorded message does, as basically Operation Wasteland is initiated. SWAT bots, all kinds of devastating robots are unleashed. Sonic and the Freedom Fighters are pretty much in the neck deep of it all. As Antoine says down here, Mon Dieu! Yeah, that's a hell of an army, not gonna lie. And of course, unfortunately for Snively, this includes him as well, as he is also targeted by the SWAT bots. But as he's about to be finished off, Robotnik suddenly appears and basically blasts the SWAT bot down for insubordination. Snively begins to explain that something called Operation Wasteland was initiated. Of course, Snively couldn't have known because, well, Robotnik never tells him these things. Of course, Robotnik would rather return to a world that he can conquer rather than outright destroy. So, as much as he wants to see Sonic and his friends get decimated, he ultimately aborts the operation. But not before he decides to basically twist the knife a little further by contacting the Freedom Fighters and stating that it was because of him that they are allowed to walk today. There was no gain.
There has been no gain. There has been no loss. We shall live to fight another day.
End. And the next one is a kind of a story with Tails not wanting to go to bed and wanting to be like his hero Sonic. To Tails from your hero Sonic. Oh, how adorable. And Sally decides to read him a bedtime story featuring Night Sonic Sir Run-a-Lot, which I'm surprised Sega didn't go for with Sonic and the Black Knight, not gonna lie. I'm actually a little disappointed by that. Yeah, by the way, it's also just kind of a, early Sonic and the Black Knight story. It's nice, but yeah. Anyway, not really anything worth going over necessarily. It's just kind of a story. Just kind of a silly story, if nothing else. But anyway. Issue number 23. Dr. Robotnik, Freedom Fighter. What, you may be asking? Well, let's begin. Dancing up a storm with dust. Love the jokes. So, the story begins with Sonic immediately getting tortured by ants. I feel you there, Sonic. But it turns out to be Rotor's ant farm as he, basically brings tries to bring the ants home. But meanwhile, Robotnik tries to roboticize Sonic when his guard is down. But he fails. He then tries to aim for Rotor. But then suddenly he and the Freedom Fire, Robotnik, Snively, and the Freedom Fighters get suddenly sucked up by a huge tube leading to a spaceship belonging to this guy. His name is Karhim of Wheat. There's a pun in that name somewhere, but I honestly can't really say what it is. Anyway, Robotnik demands that he be put down. Not in that way, as Karhim almost wants to, put him down for good, but he holds back. Karhim basically wants the Freedom Fighters, so he wants the group to stay with him so he can study them, kind of like Rotor's ant farm from earlier, kind of like a reflection in a way. Obviously, Robotnik is none too thrilled about being in a place so filled with life. So, yeah, but Sonic, meanwhile, is not too thrilled about being a, being a lab rat, so decides to try to break out, only to not. I love how Karhiem basically states that his. I love how Karhiem immediately knows that Chow is slang for foodstuffs. That's kind of funny. So the way it looks, yeah, things are starting to look a little grim for the group, as they're basically having to live out their lives now in captivity. Ironically enough, even Robotnik himself. But because Robotnik is not, doing anything with his, the freedom fighters, Karhiem is going to be a little sus. He's going to be like, why isn't he working with the others? Maybe I should get rid of him. So, which, Sonic warns, and Robotnik doesn't really want to be, disposed of, so he unfortunately has to make a vow. I, Iva Robotnik, promise to fight for freedom, justice, and good manners, and oppose all evil tyrants, especially those with cheap red costumes and pointy heads. Sonic was putting in that last part just for fun. It does bring a genuine laugh, genuine smile on my face. But anyway, Robotnik does state that he does have something of a plan, and that he needs Sonic's help. But of course, Sonic is not quick to trust Robotnik right away. Being privy to his tricks. So next day, some time passes. Sonic is found, oh my god, dead. Well, actually asleep, as Karhiem basically gets a little curious, wondering why, Sonic is just not moving. Sonic then slips into Karhiem's sleeve and starts to run around Karhiem's suit, basically giving him a very bad itch. I feel for you there, mate. The group then basically get out of their cage, immediately landing on Karhiem's desk. Robotnik then immediately opens the airlock, sending Karhiem and Sonic out of the airlock. Thankfully for Karhiem, he does have a method of surviving space, and Sonic, well, I guess can survive space. Well, I guess he's inside the suit, so I guess maybe he's breathing in the same sort of air. Obviously, the Freedom Fighters are none too happy about Robotnik basically trying to murder someone. Bit of a backstabber of sorts. But thankfully, Rotor is able to grab Karhiem and bring him back to his spaceship. Very thankful for the Freedom Fighters for saving his life. He offers to take them back to Mobius, along with Robotnik and Snively, who are just sent back to Robotropolis. Presumably inside of a glass case they need to get out. Right here we actually get all the different first three places of that one Sonic comic thing. You can view them at your own pace. It's actually kind of nice. This one person decided to just outright redraw the entire comic, which, to be fair, is kind of fun. Who knows, maybe I'll read these in full later. But anyway. Sonic's pal Antoine, the Volunteer. So, the story is interesting. So this one's actually kind of interesting, and I kind of like it. As It basically begins with Antoine comforting Tails, as Tails seems to have let Sonic down seemingly because he unfortunately left one of Sonic's power rings behind. Where exactly? Robotropolis, of course. So Antoine must be the hero and go and fetch the power ring with the backpack. Or the packback. He calls it. But as Antoine is going to leave, Bunny wakes up and finds out from Tails that the hero is about to go to Robotropolis by himself. So Bunny suddenly vanishes. No, I'm not gonna do the French accent all day. So as Antoine's going through Robotropolis, he's basically being unconsciously attacked by all manner of robots throughout this one. It's silly, but it's kind of nice that we actually get some characterization for Antoine, as he's revealed to be actually kind of a cool guy. Like, he's generally kind of cool. He's willing to go out of his way to help out another freedom fighter. So he's not a complete jerk like we kind of see him as in most cases. He is, for the most part, very loyal to his friends. I love this repeated gag of one swap bot, you know, of saying one thing and the other two just saying affirmative. It's funny. So Antoine is leaving Robotropolis now with Tails' backpack, having to cross a pipe. Meanwhile, Robotnik and Snively, who were just woken up, love how he has a bat brain plush Robotnik. It's actually kind of adorable. He tries to smash into the pipe, not realizing that maybe you shouldn't do that, only for the pipe to be lifted up, and Robotnik is just, you know, he's just put into the muck. Tails is appreciative of Antoine for everything that you know he did. Tails goes to head to bed, while Antoine gives Bunny a little kiss on the cheek, thanking her for everything that she did for him. Cause yes, Antoine was aware the entire time that Bunny had basically saved his life, showing that yes, Antoine isn't quite as dense as you may think him as. That's kind of adorable. And the final issue of the night. Finally, we're at issue number 24. Sonic the Hedgehog, Evil Sonic is back. This is when hedgehogs collide. When this one starts off with Sonic seemingly kicking, I would think, Hamlin on the rear, putting him in the muck. Sally snatching the skunk girl's chair and flinging her into the water, causing her to cry. Antoine is driving recklessly through the streets in his car before smashing into some apples. Rotor smashes this guy's antique store for no real reason and just lays him a ticket. Like, man, Rotor, you're a jerk. Then we have this turtle getting bullied by Tails, who tosses a bunch of tomatoes at this poor guy. It's then revealed, though, that this is not actually the freedom fighters that we know. This is actually the anti-freedom fighters, whom are basically taking the place of the actual freedom fighters. We then get a little context as to what exactly is happening. I love the desk here. The anti-Sonic is here. Like, you have Sonic plus Sally, Sonic plus Bunny, Sonic plus Nicole, and Sonic plus himself. So he quite literally loves himself. That's actually kind of funny. So yeah, he basically thinks he's hot shit, but he's not. So yeah, Anti-Sonic is really peeved by his previous defeats by the hands of Sonic. You don't really like the guy, obviously, but he also just wants to have some fun. He's bored of dealing with just, you know, good old Robotniks. You know, clean up crew. That's when Sally comes in and basically tries to kick Anti-Sonic's butt. So Anti-Sonic basically gets the idea to go to Mobius, the regular Mobius, not only just for some fun, but also just to cause a little bit of pain to the Freedom Fighters, and specifically Sonic for all the pain he was put through. But I love how he says, "I hate that hedgehog," like he's Robotnik. Kind of funny. So they ride, and thus we're brought into So basically we are kind of caught up on everything that has happened thus far. Turns out the Freedom Fighters have not just gone rogue, it was in fact Anti-Sonic causing trouble. Meanwhile, Sonic and the rest of the Freedom Fighters are coming back from what seems to be a mission of sorts to basically enter the zone of silence to find King Acorn. We'll get back to the zone of silence later and why it conflicts with the void. It's a bit of an unusual thing, but yeah, do know that the zone of silence and the void are kind of the same prison that King Acorn is in for now. Just put that into context. Meanwhile, Sally has come back from her mission from the Sally miniseries. But as she comes back, they immediately get met by a mob who are immediately angry at the Freedom Fighters for everything they've done. Sonic immediately rushes his friends out as he kind of figures out that he and his friends are being set up. Sally though thinks of an idea. Meanwhile, Anti-Sonic and his anti-Freedom Fighters are basically causing more trouble. But soon meet up with a bunch of innocent gypsies. Yes, they are using I'm presuming what was initially a slang term, or a racist term. Like I forget where it's racist to, but it is a racist term. So yeah, take that with a bucket of salt. Anyway, turns out that it's the Freedom Fighters in disguise, as now the anti-Freedom Fighters are basically tripped up. This basically leads into a big old brawl as now the Freedom Fighters fight their evil duplicates. But as is predicted, they are kind of an equal match of each other. Sonic and Anti-Sonic are pretty much neck to neck in terms of speed. Sally and Anti-Sally are pretty skilled in each other. Tails and Anti-Tails can fly. Rotor and Anti-Rotor are particularly tough guys. And Antoine, Anti-Antoine are, well, very French. So, Sally thinks of an idea and changes partners. And actually, good strategy here, as now everyone has a different partner. Sonic starts punching Anti-Sally. He kind of regrets it a little bit because he wouldn't necessarily hurt a lady normally. Sally is too skilled for her Anti-Antoine. Antoine is a bit too skilled for Anti-Rotor. Rotor is too bulky for Anti-Tails, and Tails is just too cool for Anti-Sonic, leading to Anti-Sonic's defeat. And that's it. That is it for issue 24, and that is it for this this bunch of Sonic comics. Yep, that is basically it. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching this I guess you can call it read through. It's a British read through of the Sonic the Hedgehog comics, and that's basically all of the Cosmic Interstate Arc in one video. So with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Next time we're gonna be targeting the Robotropolis arc, which is gonna be quite long. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!